Welcome back, I'm Jim. Today, we're going beyond ordinary silence to explore it as a profound inner ritual through the lens of Carl Jung. Jung believed that beneath our conscious mind lies the shadow, a realm of unconscious fears, desires, and rejected parts of ourselves. When you choose intentional silence, you shine the light of awareness into the very space where an avoidant partner once felt safe, yet also hid their loneliness and fear of abandonment. That moment of silence triggers an automatic fight-flight-freeze response, as their brain panics at the loss of energetic connection. But instead of letting that panic spiral into endless avoidance, you can guide them from chaos back to equilibrium, transforming silence into a bridge for reconciliation and reconnection. Gradually, this silence also awakens their animus archetype, the inner counterpart seeking dialogue and deep understanding. As these energetic threads stir, a compassionate gaze or a simple, "I'm here when you're ready," can draw them back into the shared space of safety. Prepare yourself for a journey that transcends words, where every second of silence holds the power to heal. Let's discover how to turn quiet into a portal to the unconscious, guiding the avoidant not to flee, but to step toward you in peace and mutual understanding. Don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications, so you won't miss this deep dive into spiritual connection. Stay with us until the end. You'll witness how a single moment of silence can become an invitation brimming with love and healing energy. Following the sacred silence we've just created, imagine each moment you remain quiet as a beam of conscious awareness shining into the avoidant partner's unconscious territory. According to Carl Jung, our personal unconscious comprises both light representing potential and shadow, the disowned fragments of our psyche. When the avoidant senses you have turned down their communication, they lose not only a way to speak but also the energy map they relied on for security. Your silence thus becomes the gateway to their unconscious, a threshold where the shadow within them, long suppressed, suddenly awakens. Their ensuing internal panic does not stem from your words being cut off, but from the stirring of deep-seated shadows, fear of loss, feelings of unworthiness, wounds from an unhealed past. As these shadows erupt, their brain triggers a survival cascade, elevating heart rate and flooding their bloodstream with adrenaline. At that moment, your silence transcends mere absence of speech. It becomes the shadow's song, an unseen symphony compelling them to hear the echoes of the buried aspects of their being. In that quiet space, defensive barriers begin to waver. The fragments of memory once masked by avoidance now surface in each ragged breath and scattered thought. They sense a vacuum spreading, a void not solely from your absence, but from disconnection with the light still trapped within themselves. Your silence acts like a flashlight in their inner darkness, its glow gently illuminating each scar, urging them to face their fears rather than flee from them. And in that split second, they realize that true strength lies not in maintaining distance, but in daring to confront shadow, to heed the call of the very aspects they once feared, yet hold the keys to their rebirth. From a Jungian perspective, this is the first step in the process of individuation, the reconciliation of consciousness and unconsciousness. Your silence serves as a silent teacher, offering no lecture, no explanation, but guiding them directly to the illusions that cloak their spirit. When their shadow is awakened, they undergo panic not to be silenced, but to seek illumination. And you, through intentional silence, have paved the path, from chaotic dread to conscious choice, to enter the realm of the unconscious, where genuine healing can begin. So embrace this silence, avoid neither explanation nor interaction, but allow it to ripple through the space, like a ceremonial drumbeat, awakening their inner awareness and opening the unconscious gate they once sealed. As they cross that threshold in silence, they cease to be a solitary soul fleeing fear. They become a being, embarking on a journey to reunite with their whole self-light and shadow alike, ultimately choosing to heal, to return to you on a newfound frequency of safety and trust. When you awaken the unconscious shadow with intentional silence, the avoidant partner sees no way back. Their inner darkness stirs, demanding to be heard and embraced. Instantly, the primitive fight-flight-freeze survival mechanism kicks in. They're no longer facing you, they're confronting their deepest fears. Fight. Their mind erupts with accusations. Why are you doing this to me? Are you abandoning me on purpose? Each thought and every blame is their fight to regain control, threatened by the awakened shadow. Flight. They withdraw, completely muting themselves, unfriending, severing contact. This extreme silence stems from a fear of feeling wounded again. They flee the very space your silence has illuminated. Freeze. If neither fighting nor fleeing works, they shut down. Mental and emotional paralysis grips them. They become frozen in place, stunned by the echo of their shadow, and unsure how to respond. Jung explained that fight-flight-freeze proves one's lack of integration with the shadow, the disowned parts of the self, cast into darkness to avoid pain. Rather than accept their dual nature, they react, evade, or shut down. And if your silence simply awakens their shadow without guiding them, they remain trapped in cyclical avoidance and panic, unable to find a way out. However, when silence is framed mindfully, it becomes a guiding light. A silence held long enough, 30 to 60 seconds, allows them to pause running and begin observing their panic. Instead of verbal rebuttals, they listen to the pounding of their heart and the tightness in their chest. Instead of fleeing, they stay present with their racing breath. Instead of freezing, they become aware of each rising emotion, permitting it to exist without forcing immediate action. In that moment of awareness, fight-flight-freeze transforms into inner mindfulness. As they acknowledge, "I am scared, I feel tense," their brain reduces cortisol production, adrenaline subsides, and the parasympathetic system engages. The once feared shadow becomes a partner in self-discovery, teaching them that unhealed pain needs to be met, not suppressed. From reaction to evasion to shutdown, the only passage is the moment of awakening. You don't need to offer solutions, simply hold a safe, deliberate silence. When they stop running, they realize your silence is an invitation to reconnect with themselves. And from that realization, they cease perpetual shadow avoidance and embark on the next phase, the journey of shadow integration toward wholeness. As their fight-flight-freeze panic subsides, the darkness within them no longer swirls chaotically, but becomes discernible fragments of emotion, awaiting integration. Your silence now shifts from an alarm signal to a ceremonial ritual, paving the way for Jung's process of individuation, the integration of the shadow into a harmonious whole. Intentional silence isn't a mere absence, but a symbolic act, held long enough to allow them to truly feel rather than dismiss their own inner voice with justifications. First, the duration of silence, roughly 60 to 90 seconds, is crucial. This window is neither too brief to be just a breath, nor too long to become overwhelming stress. It forms an ideal temporal space where they can acknowledge, "I am afraid, I feel empty." In this silence, an invisible tapestry is woven from every shade of their emotion, anxiety, anger, sorrow, and the more delicate wounds they once hid. This stillness grants them permission to listen to their psyche instead of perpetually fleeing. Equally important is refraining from breaking the silence with reasons or explanations. If you quickly say, "I'm silent so you can calm down," or "I don't want to argue," you unintentionally extinguish the very insight you illuminated. Jung insisted that the unconscious be approached as a sacred ritual untouched by judgment or defense. That wordless silence delivers the most powerful message. You are safe to embrace every aspect of yourself, even the darkest ones. When they hear this unspoken invitation, trust emerges, encouraging them to step into their shadow willingly. Within this silence, they begin an inner dialogue, listening to the echoes of both light and darkness. Often, they'll start by a momentary shock at the quiet, then tentatively ask themselves, "What am I truly afraid of? Which part of me demands recognition?" This inner resonance marks the start of confronting the shadow, a potent encounter where the very aspects once feared become keys to healing. According to Jung, individuation remains incomplete if the shadow stays a separate darkness. When your silence is upheld as a ritual, they begin integrating those shadows into their journey toward wholeness. They might sit quietly, jotting down previously denied feelings, or simply allow thoughts to drift, attuned but not judged. Each passing second in that silence builds the foundation for integration. They no longer dread exposure but bravely face their inner darkness. Finally, once you sense they have moved past inner turmoil, heartbeats soften, breathing steadies, eyes clear, gently break the silence with a tender nudge, a compassionate glance, or a soft, "I'm here when you're ready." This invitation doesn't undermine the silence's symbolism. Rather, it completes the ritual, guiding them from shadow into shared dialogue. from fear into serenity. Intentional silence is the pinnacle of energetic communication, where you not only guide the avoidant from panic, but also support them in integrating every fragment of their identity. When they accept the shadow in silence, they not only return to you but embark on a profound inner rebirth, ensuring every subsequent reunion is not merely reconnection, but the celebration of two souls fully matured and deeply attuned to one another. Once your intentional silence has led them through the gateway to the unconscious and facilitated shadow integration, another doorway opens even deeper within. The doorway of the anima or animus. Carl Jung emphasized that each person harbors an inner opposite gender image, anima in men, animus in women, an aspect of the psyche yearning for a spiritual bond that transcends physical boundaries. Your silence isn't merely a ritual to help them face their darkness. It's a signal summoning their anima, animus to arise. In that realm of stillness, where the mind's chatter fades away, this inner counterpart finds freedom to emerge. They begin to sense a subtle call. There is someone waiting to understand you profoundly. This isn't a fight or flight instinct, but a spiritual urge to meet their inner other. By sustaining this silence, you create a silent sanctuary, a sacred zone where the anima, animus can recognize itself and step out of the shadows. The awakening of the anima, animus through silence is nuanced. They might suddenly recall a fleeting dream of you, or a vivid memory of your shared laughter intensifies. They feel a gentle, energetic wave, inviting them to open their heart. At that precise moment, when you offer a gentle nudge, perhaps a warm gaze held for 3-5 seconds, or a simple message, "I'm here when you're ready," you're not only calling forth their conscious attention, but directly invoking their anima, animus. This invitation holds unique power because it speaks to the soul's core. You are not alone. Someone stands ready to step into your inner world. They respond by experiencing safety and a willingness to traverse silence without fear. They don't return through logical persuasion, but through this unconscious summons, ready to converse with the once frozen half of their psyche. The effect intensifies when you pair the gentle nudge with soulful cues. A gentle 528 Hz healing track, a brief video bathed in warm light, or simply a reminder. Breathe deeply and listen to your heart. These are the languages of the soul, transcending words, directly resonating with their anima, animus frequency. When they feel that call, they instinctively move closer, ready to open up and share. This is the pivotal fourth breakthrough. Through inner silence, you touch the source of their anima, animus, inviting their spiritual counterpart to awaken, and with a gentle nudge, you unlock the door for them to engage with their deepest longing. From the suffocating panic of shadow to the tranquility of that sacred space, they step into a realm where each gaze and breath shared with you becomes a symbol of holistic connection. As their anima, animus awakens, they are drawn not only back to themselves, but back to you standing silently, ready to explore the fullest extent of your shared psyche. After intentional silence has guided them through shadow integration and awakened their anima, animus, we reach the pinnacle of the Jungian journey, transforming panic into discrimination. According to Carl Jung, panic isn't an enemy but an inner alarm, a summons for self-recognition. In the heat of fight-flight-freeze triggered by clashing light and darkness, the avoidant partner's mind is swept into emotional chaos. Your silence acts as the spark that ignites the process of discrimination, illuminating the line between consciousness, ego, and the unconscious, allowing them to see. This fear is not my whole self, but a shadow fragment I've denied. When you maintain silence long enough without explanations or justifications, you provide a spacious stillness for them to observe their panic safely. It is then that their heart realizes the surging waves of anxiety filling their chest are not their entire identity, but reflections of unintegrated parts of their psyche. This act of discrimination questioning, "Am I afraid?" followed by, "Can I separate myself from this fear?" lowers cortisol, eases adrenaline, and sparks a refined awareness of the difference between the conscious self and the suppressed emotions of the unconscious. Discrimination leads to acceptance. When the avoidant acknowledges, this is my fear, not my entirety, they pave the way for shadow integration. Your silent ceremony kindles the flame of self-distinction, enabling them to confront their inner darkness rather than recoil from it. Instead of repression, they learn to hold a balanced space where light and dark coexist. experienced fully without being lost in the turmoil. From discrimination evolves the power of shadow as a source of regeneration. The once fragmented pieces now forge new inner strength, clarity, compassion, and unwavering self-assurance. They don't merely endure panic passively, they actively transmute it into spiritual fortitude, becoming a more integrated, whole version of themselves. At the intersection of discrimination and shadow integration, the avoidant begins a rebirth, no longer fleeing into silence, but embracing silence as a ritual of renewal. With every confrontation of fear, they reinforce the distinction: I am the observer, not my fear, thus expanding consciousness while integrating the unconscious. This ongoing individuation is woven through each breath and silent pause. Transitioning naturally from Part 4 to Part 5, after Animus awakens, the inner panic becomes the threshold for distinguishing between the seen and the seer. When they understand that silence isn't merely a test, but a gateway to self-awareness, they no longer dread the echoes of shadow. Instead, they embrace it as an essential facet of their being. In that moment of acceptance, the avoidant not only returns to you but claims the powerful energy of their whole self-light, harmonizing with darkness, creating a solid foundation for all future authentic connection. Having journeyed through the first 5-stage awakening the unconscious, confronting shadow through fight, flight, freeze, a ritual silence for shadow integration, the awakening of animus, and the transformation of panic into discrimination, now, it's time to guide them back to the whole self. At the conclusion of your silence ritual, you issue a gentle nudge, a subtle but potent invitation to re-engage after the intense inner process. For example, a simple phrase like, "I'm here whenever you're ready to move forward." This phrase isn't a demand or plea, but a faint beacon lighting the path out of their psychological maze. It's a concise charter for a safe space, inviting them back to a realm purified by ritual silence. When you send that gentle nudge, remember to couple it with warm eyes and a sincere smile. These embody the Jungian wise old man, woman, archetype, a calm guide, leading them through darkness into clarity. A sustained, compassionate gaze, combined with a gentle smile, conveys a powerful energetic message. They are not alone, and a steadfast anchor awaits them. That gentle nudge is more than a verbal prompt. It's a spiritual gesture beckoning them to reconnect with every aspect of their psyche, light and dark alike, that emerge through the silent ritual. When they see you present after the silence, they perceive more than an external presence. They feel your heart as companion to their unconscious, shadow, and awakened animus. This marks the convergence of the whole self. They cease to be victims of emotion and become active participants, choosing their relationship with themselves and with you. Through this process, they reclaim their inner strength, the power to accept all facets of themselves, and to build consciousness upon a reconciled unconscious. They realize peace comes not solely from external factors, but from embracing their internal light and dark. As they heed your gentle nudge, they no longer fear intimacy. Having traversed silence and triumphed over inner panic, you'll notice the avoidant, once withdrawn by sudden silence, now seeking your gaze and returning your smile. Their conversation flows without hesitation, imbued with sincere sharing, no longer hollow promises, but internal unity, words aligned with the energy they've experienced. From the ceremonial silence to the guiding nudge, they reconnect with you as an integral part of themselves, erasing previous boundaries. This is the moment the relationship reaches true wholeness. They return not only to you, but to a complete self-light shining through, darkness accepted, animus balanced, spirit empowered, and heart suffused with healing energy. Each step in this journey, from the silent ritual to the final gentle nudge, demonstrates there is no mystical trickery, only energetic ritual, and an invitation rooted in love, guiding them back to the whole self, where authentic connection flourishes. So there we have a tour journey through 6 Jungian-inspired steps, from silence as a gateway to the unconscious, through fight, flight, freeze, panic, the ritual of integrating shadow, the awakening of animus, transforming panic into discrimination, and finally the gentle nudge guiding them back to the whole self. Each phase isn't just a psychological technique, but an energetic ritual that helps the avoidant touch hidden depths, acknowledge and embrace them. Intentional silence became the master key to break the cycle of avoidance. Your steady gaze and warm smile embodied the wise old man, woman, archetype. The moment of discrimination sparked the hidden strength between ego and shadow, and the final gentle nudge confidently invited them to integrate both light and dark. All of these converged to create a miracle. The avoidant no longer flees, but chooses to step toward you, choosing healing and deep connection. Remember, individuation is not a single event, but a lifelong path requiring patience and compassion. Yet by faithfully holding sacred silence and offering sincere gentle nudges, you wield a profound healing power both for them and for yourself. Your relationship will no longer be a tug-of-war of avoidance, but an ongoing dialogue between two whole souls, where light and darkness harmonize, building an enduring foundation of love and understanding. Thank you for joining this journey. If you found value here, don't forget to subscribe to explore deeper topics in psychology and spiritual energy. Wishing you peace, confidence, and full-hearted connection with yourself and those you love.